What I hope the city and the people here in Chattanooga get out of the mural is, one, is process. Most times artists work in the studio, so they're inside of a bubble, and people don't really get to see the artwork come to life. And then the artist is really just presenting it through an exhibition or an installation. But in the case of a mural, especially at this scale, the city gets to see it happen and the progress and it unfold over time. And that's what's awesome. This is not something that happens in a week. This is something that's been months. And so I believe that there's, like, you know, thousands of Chattanoogans that's passed by and got a chance to see the mural at some different stage, and then they're gonna pass back and see it more refined, and then when it's done, and so they get to participate in seeing art come to life. And I think there's a certain magical wonder, you know, for people who don't claim themselves as artists.
I really pursued the idea of this project, Meg specifically, because she was kind of a role model for me for years. I wanted to work with her. So I wrote the initial proposal and brought it to Peggy Townsend and brought it to the city to do this kind of large-scale, monumental, national landmark type project that would really set Chattanooga on the map for murals, and also create a new bar and standard for what are the possibilities of murals that we could do here locally. And we met for a good year and a half, kind of initially as a committee, working with all the resources. What do we need? How do we get here? And at the point that it looked like we were having trouble finding a building, I stepped out and everybody kind of moved on. Though Peggy Townsend kept beating the door down, and eventually she's the one that got it to kind of happen.
Well, obviously securing the funding was the first of the hurdles, and then designing the entire mural and working within the construct of the existing building. So making sure that the design worked with the building. And then obviously coming in and having to pressure wash the building and prime. And for this project, we elected to actually use construction chalk and grid so that the reference sheets has a comparable grid at a smaller size, and then we did 1 foot grid chalk lines on the building to blow up the image and get it sketched onto, so we hand sketched this onto the building. And then once we got it sketched onto the building, there was the process of blocking in the large areas of color and using sprayers to do that. And it really helped because of the surface of this building is little teeny pebbles.
And it's not like a nice stroke, it's like that's your brush stroke.
So without the sprayer, we would have been just like hammering the paint against the building, and it would have just taken forever.
This guy here, his name is Jabba, did an interview with him. He grew up here in Chattanooga. He's one of the locals. He's been in like every paint day. Told us a lot about how 9th Street was when he was growing up.
I've learned a lot, especially in regards to historical research. I've never really been able to delve out on my own, especially being a history minor. I've done some papers and stuff like that, but this has really gotten me into interviewing, especially, which I love because you can talk to people in your own city that you never would have been able to meet otherwise. The blogs have kind of just been an outlet for our research, just compiling of all the information that we brought together, trying to decide what is important to the city of Chattanooga, what they actually want to hear about, read about, learn about.
Some people participated. We had about 6 to 9 different events. This is what it kind of looks like after you're all finished. And they're just like kind of drawing one little piece of it, but it was just it was so important for the community to take part of it. When they found out that, hey, this is free, why not participate in it? And then you're also making history at the same time, because it's important to give back to something and then come back 40 years and be like, I took part of that, and tell your kids, hey, your mom took part of that. This one is a really good picture I like to share. It's 3 generations of a family. She's from out of town, but she lives here with her daughter, and they decided to come down because her daughter liked to paint, and then her grandmother was in town. So they decided, why not bring 3 generations to a public paint day? And when they found out that they were making history, they said it would be something that would be memorable for their whole family to come back to Chattanooga and see this huge mural and say, you know, I took part of that, your grandmother took part of that, and, you know, eventually when she becomes older and she's a grandmother, she can say all of her descendants have taken part of this mural, you know, and that's just a piece of art, you know. If everyone could say they worked on a Da Vinci or something like that, that would be important.
This is just part of the design. Actually, and so all of the figures in the mural are people from around town. This man was actually, I crashed a wedding just next door to the mural because I wanted somebody in nice clothing, and it was in the summertime, so nobody wears like suits because it's so hot. We talk to them, get to know who they are, if they have a particularly sort of appropriate story. He certainly has a very, very appropriate story to be really our central figure on the wall facing MLK Street. From Chattanooga, and he cites like studying Dr. King in high school as sort of his big sort of wake-up call, awareness of sort of global issues. It inspired him to go to Morehouse College, which he did end up doing, and he's been very successful since. Yeah, and he cites Dr. King as one of his biggest influences. So a lot of imagery on this wall is pulled from Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech.
I actually took the photograph of the girl doing the backflip. Well, Meg and I were just wandering the neighborhood looking for people to photograph and asking them if they could do a backflip pose, because we have which is a really odd question to get asked in the middle of the street. Not an actual backflip, of course, you just have to get them to kind of pose in such a way. And we wanted all the figures in this mural to be people from Chattanooga, and especially from this neighborhood right around here. And she happened to be really excellent at doing a bridge on command, so she was a great model, and we got some great shots of her, and we were able to use her on this wall directly across from where we took her picture, which was pretty awesome.
A figure you'll see on the back wall that has yet to emerge yet is actually Councilman Moses Freeman, who started out his career as a paper boy, and he would travel across both parts of town this is during segregation, so he'd travel from the black part of town to the white part of town and back and forth. And this was the first time he had done that, and the experience really caused him to look at people in a different way. It was a formative realization of race for him. He basically realized that people were people.
I hope what they get out of it is that this is truly a community-based project, and it's one of Meg Seligman's specialties. Wherever she goes, she really engages the community in every project. So the initial meetings, getting